Gerard, I wonder if you could say a little bit more about your business in terms of your focus, your direction. You've got 25 years experience, and certainly maybe you could share what are the big ideas in your industry and your business. How do we work with Gerard O'Malley?
Yeah, for sure. Just anyone who's looking for commercial financing, we were working a lot with debt funds. A lot of the time, the banks are, really struggling to get loans approved and get them closed. So they're going to alternative sources. We're actually working on like three deals that are very close to getting funded here that are, non-traditional banks. Rates are more expensive, but anyone who has an income producing property or they're trying to take out a line of credit on their business, like we're doing one on an insurance company right now, and going through like either private lenders or CMBS stuff like that.
Okay.
So those are
So
the deals that we're working on.
So who would be your ideal client? Somebody that's obviously looking for funding and that you're able to help them get that. Can you share who your ideal client might be?
Yeah, it would be a real estate owner that is looking to either do a refinance or acquire a property.
Okay. All right. That makes it a little bit clearer. Let me open it up to see if anybody has a question, comment, thought, feedback for Gerard. Anybody? Certainly, if you can put whatever information you'd like, Gerard, about yourself on the chat box, that way people can get a hold of you.
Oh, yeah, certainly. I'm
And
actually just
that,
trying to pull that up for sure.
so let's hear from Ron Argent. He's the CEO out of London. He's focused with IT companies and both mainframe. I think you mentioned, Ron, that you've got 54 years of business experience. That just seems like incredible. But could you say more about what are the big ideas or opportunities
Yeah,
in your
that's
business,
scary,
your
isn't it?
industry? How do we work with you, Ron?
That is scary. I had, what was it? Must have been 37 years, just going through. I'm an engineer at heart. So, I used to fix machines and help design them, and then turned into a salesman, retired. So I actually got out of things in 2008, and then I missed the ideas and developing ideas into something big. So I came back into industry, and one of the best decisions I've made because I meet such terrific people. As I say, that my life really turned on. I met one person, Canadian. He said his idea was to take the bottom 2 billion out of poverty and stop the plastic going in the ocean. And I said, what technology do you use? And he said, pen and paper and an Excel spreadsheet. And I said, well, you're not going to change the world with that. And so from that conversation, we built an application, a blockchain-based application, the first one in the world that was a social blockchain application, working on trust and transparency rather than digital currency, or cryptocurrency, should I say. And that really changed everything because that introduced me to the world of startups and people who had big visions. And as a result, we've done some remarkable, worked with some remarkable people, like making plastic from the air. Is that incredible? Making plastic from a cow's belch, and he turns it into high quality handbags and leather. Education, working people in Africa, and you go to places and you see the impact of the work that you've enabled other people to do. So I don't. I'm an ideas man, but not like these guys. They truly have ideas that change the world, but they don't know how to do it. So I help them do that. I help them put their ideas into some kind of form where they can get investment. Help them turn their ideas into a deliverable product, and and just do that. That's interesting. One of the things that's always a challenge for startups is financing. That's why it's interesting listening to some people on the call who do financing. But it's really initially like low level, like they've found a startup, found a financing, pre-seed, A, B, the small things. We're just getting involved with some VCs but there's a ton of people in the world who have got great ideas, but just, as I say, just don't know how to turn them into something real. And that's what we try to do.
That's quite a bit. And I want to be your friend, Ron. You've got some really great ideas, great direction. And I do believe that with blockchain and some of the digital tools, you are going to shift the world and make it a little bit better. Can you share a little bit more? Certainly, being able to help the bottom 2 billion people, that is so ambitious and so worthwhile. Yeah, how far along are you, or maybe you could a little more specific? In the next 6 months, what are the big ideas that you're going to be encountering?
Well, I'll give you a bit more detail on that one. Then we'll go into big ideas. But basically, a guy called David Katz of Vancouver put together the idea that most of the plastic, well, 80% of the plastic that goes into the oceans comes from impoverished areas, where people earn less than $1 a day. And he thought, wow, if I can get these people to pick up that plastic and pay them to do it, then we can recycle that plastic, and we fix two problems. We stop the plastic going in the ocean, and we pay the people to pick it up. But he didn't have a mechanism to do it. That's where we use blockchain. So we built a circular economy, if you like, based upon digital tokens that allows David to go to large multinationals and say, I've got a way of fixing your single-use plastic problem, the disposal problem, and I've got a means of showing that the money you give me to do that goes round in a circle and helps improve people's lives. And in doing that, you can put it in your annual report, etc. So this is the way that people have ideas, where they think about, not just I want to do this, but I want to do this coupled with that, and how I can do it is bring these other people into the thought process and make it a commercial aspect. And so that's what we try to do. Now, other big ideas are doing that. We're tackling the for the people on this call, we're beginning to look at the US insurance system, their medical insurance for disadvantaged people. That's one idea. We're looking at, so we're quite well advanced with that project. We've got another one. We're looking at DNA splicing, DNA sampling to identify genetic and conditions that could tend to make you, sickle cell, or you don't process drugs correctly. So we're involved in lots of different things. We've looked at things with farmers in Africa. How do farmers actually get their products to market? So there's another one, brilliant one, where a company was taking water samples, and immediately you think it's something to do with chemicals, but no, they can detect up to 2,000 different animals by taking the DNA samples from the water. So as birds fly, they poop, and that poop goes into the water. Fishes swim in the water, cows in the field pee on the fields, that gets washed into the streams. So they take samples, analyze the DNA, and then from that they can tell whether a factory down the road is polluting the water, for example. Or this company just won a major contract with the United Nations to look at to look at animals around the world in terms of their sustainability. So, there's brilliant ideas. And what I've learned is that, there's not one idea, but someone doesn't have an idea that's unique. Lots of people have very similar ideas, but it's the ones that have got the ability to turn that idea into something real that makes a difference.
That does make the difference. The action
those
part.
are special people. Yeah.
Well, it takes people. Hopefully, they turn into special people. And I've got some people that I'd certainly like to introduce to you, and you seem to be a fountain of ideas. But let me open it up to see if anybody has a question, comment, thought, feedback for Ron. Anybody?
I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I love the focus of what Ron is discussing about the environment, because that's one of the most important places for us to lend our skills. That's been my focus for 25 years. All our clients are sustainable, either for people's individual health or the physical planet. And one of the initiatives I have taken over is that I'm actually president of the board of something called Nosara Recyclia, which is the recycling center in Nosara, Costa Rica. It's on the Pacific coast. And what we're doing is helping to prevent plastic pollution from going into the ocean, as well as all the other kind of litter that gets dropped off on the road, in the jungle, and by the beaches. So it's whenever we can do that, this is one of these crucial things that we could look back at our life and say, I did this. So Ron, I would love to connect with you outside this call, because we're actually in a very active phase of getting in new equipment to be a model of a recycling center in the jungle of Costa Rica, to show that community recycling is really possible. And you can not only keep the materials in the community, but then upcycle. You can reuse them. So we have various things we're doing around that too. So, and I will say, gentlemen, I actually need to jump off this call shortly. So I am very grateful. Thank you, Ron.
Rashima, before you go, there's so much here that I mentioned in direct message to them, my partner Bill, who lives in Colorado. You will love him. You will absolutely love him. He goes to Costa Rica. He goes down in missionary things to build houses for people. He goes to Costa Rica, several times a year. We've spoken to the coffee growers down there to see what they can do with their coffee granules and things. So we will link up, and I will definitely link you up with Bill, because I think you two will get on like a house on fire.
Yeah, that's the beauty of a call like this. It's the synchronicity of the meetings. You then find, the exactly right person at the right moment. And so, yeah, I'm grateful. Ron, if you want to send, before I jump off, you in the chat, or for everyone how to reach you, that would be wonderful. And I definitely appreciate that introduction to Bill as well.
Okay, we'll put it in the chat.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Neshama, and hopefully you could join us next time at your convenience. Let's hear from Eduardo Bryant. Eduardo Bryant is focused on leadership training and focusing on the why to do that. But maybe you could share more, Eduardo. What are the big ideas or opportunities in your industry, in your business? How do we work with you or do business with Eduardo Bryant?
Yeah, thank you, Rocky. And I too enjoyed listening to what was just said about cleaning up the environment. And I think that's so important. So I appreciate that. As I was getting into it just a little bit, leadership training is one of those things that every company focuses on. And having been a manager, my background is pharmaceutical sales and medical device sales. So having climbed the ladder and started out as all we talk about carrying the bag, was a sales rep, and then got up into management, up into training, I found that we got very little management training. And it was one of those things where almost all the employees would complain about their manager. I mean, it was really, really bad. And I've worked for different companies, and it seems to be pretty similar. And so back in 2010, I launched EB Enterprises Consulting Group. So we now have, 14 years of experience where we've been working with companies around the globe, helping their leadership team truly become better leaders. And that's essentially what it is. It's how can I, as a manager, be better? And we all have blind spots. So we all think we're great. Everyone thinks that they're wonderful. And then we need to learn certain things. So someone commented on communication. A huge part of our work is in the space of communication, understanding the science behind encoding and decoding of information and how you speak to people, which obviously gets into the emotional intelligence aspect quite a bit. So that's really what we do. I'm certified in emotional intelligence. I run a weekly podcast where I interview vice presidents and above from various industries, various companies on, what makes a great leader. And we think about it from the top down. So as a weekly podcaster, I do that. And it's really about making you better. And the last thing I'll say is, this is important. When we talk about the why, too many people become alcoholics and drug addicts and have to end up swallowing high blood pressure pills. They have terrible marriages. It all seems dark, but it's true. And it's because of the pressures that come from their boss. So that's a key thing. And that's why we do it. So that's what I do.
Wow, that's really worthwhile, Eduardo. And also that you have a weekly podcast. I encourage certainly people to connect with Eduardo to possibly participate in that in the podcast. Let me open it up to see if anybody has a question, comment, thought, feedback for Eduardo. Anybody?
I'd love to connect with you, Eduardo. I think we may have some things to talk about. I love what you're talking about. I kind of deal with people who are sick of doing that, want to do what you did and start their own company. So, and a lot of guys who want to write their stories about what they're going through. And we often do a lot of anthologies, compilation books with people who get together and write on a specific subject like leadership. So it'd be fun to talk to you at some point. You're a very interesting guy.
Well, thank you. I've already put my email and information in the chat box. So if you go searching for Eduardo Bryant, I didn't mention my podcast is called The Inside Scoop with Eduardo Bryant. And that's where we sit down with leaders and we talk about, and if I can add this really quickly, the types of things that we talk about are things that are kitchen table issues. For example, real quickly, let's say there's a promoted position open and two people within the company are going to go for it. One person's been with the company for, say, 10 years. The other person just came into the organization maybe 2 years ago. The 10-year tenured person is the shoe-in. Everybody likes that person and is absolutely sure that person will get it. Long story short, that person does not get it, and the person that's only got 2 years. If you're in leadership, how do you manage that? You've got to learn to get out in front of that, because the water cooler conversations is going to cause dissension because people don't understand. And it's the classic example. Maybe the skill set needed at that next level, the 10-year person didn't have it, but the 2-year person that just came into the organization certainly exhibited it. Those are the types of things that cause people to have low morale because they don't understand it, and managers don't know how to handle that. So they just let it go, and then everybody complains about their boss and says, after a hard day of work, I need a drink. So they go out and they have a drink. That's the problem.
Well, and you're the solution for that, Eduardo. Thank you for what you are and who you are. Let's hear from Lil. Lil is focused in the publishing area with GWN Publishing. Lil, maybe you could share a little bit more. You talked about leadership, but I wonder if you could share what are the big ideas in your industry, your business. How do we work with you, Lil?
Sure, I love that. Obviously, I work with a lot of executives who write their own books. We work with a lot of people who want to tell their story. They want to get on stages. They want to get on podcasts like Eduardo's. They need that book. They need the book to push them over the top into the next level that they're going to, which is something we do a great deal of. And we publish about 4 books a month of different varieties, different things. In fact, we do everything from children's illustrated books to devotionals to whatever it might be. But we work with pastors sometimes. We work with all kinds of interesting people who just aren't really either able to write their book. They'd rather spend the money than the time, or they have a book they've written and they want someone to make it really perfect. They want it to look good, be edited properly, and to have a great appearance on the global stage. So we're really good at that. I'm always looking for people who you think might want to do that, might want to work with me. In terms of that, I'm really a pretty fine ghostwriter. If I don't say so to myself, written about 40 or 50 books so far of different varieties. And then my new thing, which is really, I started out my video for this. This is getting posted in the next couple of days. My own mother retired very early because she was angry at a job position she didn't get in corporate, in a sense, in schools, and she wound up dying very young. And she could have done something else, but she was not. She was tired of the shit that she was involved in. I'd say I'm getting too old for this. But I'm getting too old for this shit is one of my taglines. People are saying I don't want to get up in the morning and do this anymore. And they're not done yet, but they're done with whatever they're working on at the moment. They're done being in the military. They're done being a cop. They're done being a firefighter. They're getting their bones are getting tired. But they have so much wisdom to impart. They have so much to offer the world. Leadership, Eduardo. They have leadership to share. They want to be great coaches and consultants, and they need that understanding that most of us understand about networking and value proposition and what makes them different from the next guy doing whatever it is they're doing. So that's something I'm really working hard on putting that program together. So I bought the domain Newpreneurship, and I have newpreneurship.com. And I want to work in groups of like 10 people that meet with me weekly for 6 months. They don't have to come every week. There'll be industry experts that they can meet on everything from funding to leadership to sales. And I'll bring in those people too. And then they'll be working on their book over the 6 months. So if they're thinking about leaving a position, this gives them time to start to build their muscles and build the platforms, throw them together a website for them. We'll do the whole thing. My team does everything. All the design work, website design, graphic design, everything you could think of if somebody's starting something new or trying to build something up to be the next level. So that's what I'm working on a lot. Really excited about the new entrepreneurship idea. And I do offer $1,000 affiliate fee. So if you want to affiliate with me, if you send someone my way, it doesn't hurt. So that's kind of what we're doing.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to partner with you in that, Lil. And I suspect many of us either have written a book or have a book in their minds that they'd like to be able to write or write their story. Let me open it up to see if anybody has a question, comment, thought, feedback for Lil. Anybody? Certainly love to be able to participate with you, Lil, in our co-venture aspect. Many of our co-venture partners would love to be able to get their message out. They just struggle getting going, like myself as well too. So let's hear from Robert Jeter. Or Robert, I wonder if you might share more about your involvement. You've had 22 years of experience in your business. Can you share what are the big ideas or opportunities in your industry, in your business? How do we work with you, Robert?
Well, basically, we work with all kinds of businesses in regards to financing. I mean, mostly we deal with smaller firms, mom and pop stores, trucking companies, auto companies, and stuff like that. But I do have a lot of contacts, been in the business for a while, for bigger projects and for startups, personal loans. I can direct you to the right person. So we do a little bit of everything. But our main focus, of course, is on the smaller businesses, trying to get them funding in a very difficult market right now. And of course, the interest rates are not as good as they could be, but things are picking up. And we're all look for better days ahead with lower opportunities. The banks are taking more risks now. It seems like they're opening up a little bit more. They see that people are asking to be funded more because of the past history we've gone through. So things are looking up in our business, even though we had a hard go doing COVID and doing everything else that's going on in the world. But I have made a lot of contacts during these years. So any way I can help you, look for funding. And if you have projects you're working on right now, I'm looking for someone who funds in the entertainment business. I've met some people from Hollywood. A lot of people have moved out of California. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, so they've ended up here. So I'm looking for a source for entertainment projects. If anyone knows of a source for that.
Yeah, I think that's probably your expertise, but I think our expertise is getting the right funding. And I heard interest rates are going to be coming down to curve inflation. Let me open up to see if anybody has a question, comment, thought, feedback for Robert. Anybody?
Yeah, Robert,
No.
I'd be interested. I'd be
No.
interested in connecting, just pretty much everybody I've heard on this chat, but for sure, Robert, it seems like we might be able to work together because, I specialize in the equity crowdfunding online public offerings
Okay.
side of things, and that can be anything from, I don't do anything under $1 million raise, but anything from $1 million to $75 million raise.
Gotcha.
And so, and that's just all online. And all you're doing is going to the crowd out there. You're not having to go to a private equity group and shop your deal and go through all that, or SBA, or go to a bank. It's just non-traditional. It can be debt or equity, right? You can do all kinds of different things. And during the pandemic, just to note, the Congress really freed up all the regulations around that. And so it really exploded to where it's very easy to access, go online, find, thousands of investors. All they do is put in a couple $1,000s at a time, or as low as 500, whatever your settings are. So
Uh-huh.
I think it might be a good fit. It can be small business, it could be a business with a great idea, or it can be a solid business. Like one company I'm working with right now, they've been in business for 8 years. They're doing about $8 million in the DC area, and on food prep delivery. And so, that's going to be a $10 million raise.
Right.
And so it has some costs associated with it, but the advantage is time. You're not, having been on both sides of private equity, where I've been inside a private equity group, and then I've also gone and tried to get funding from private equity group, and successfully. But it just is, it's a lot of work, honestly, especially when money's tight, it's difficult. So I'd really like to connect with you, and like I said, everybody else on this chat.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Sure. We'll talk.
Yeah, I encourage you to connect and put whatever information you like in the chat box. I want to welcome Paul Johnson, who's joining us. We're talking to some of our people here, like Bill Searle. Bill's involved in a lot of things, consulting, training. He's focused on a lot of things. Bill, you could say it better than I can about what are the big ideas or opportunities in your industry, in your business. How do we work with Bill Searle?
Well, thanks again. I just finished a book on emotional intelligence called Emotional Sobriety, which is really in alignment with me as being a high conflict mediator that goes in and works with companies to either repair relationships or walks into a city council and gets them to be cooperative and work together. Even though they've been volatile, it takes me about 17 to 23 minutes to get everybody to calm down. So I was fortunate enough to get trained by an international mediator. So the state of Michigan actually hired me to come into Flint, Michigan during the water crisis and train their frontline employees about what do you say when a person says something really tragic or angry in your direction. What do you say next? So, for example, if somebody points at you and says, "You're a racist," what do you say next to de-escalate the conflict? Now, all of you online are going like, "Oh, what do I say?" "No, I'm not" tends not to work very well.
Right. I would imagine.
Or "why do you think I am" doesn't work very well either, because you're not really connecting with the person, you're actually defending your position. So how do we step into a conflict situation and somebody says, "Hey, you're a narcissist," or pick any label and diagnosis? So the way people work with me is that they learn how to clean up their active language and remove the hand grenades and landmines of words and phrases that they use in their leadership, so that they're able to create a streamlined effect if somebody is freaking out in front of them. Many of you are parents and you're wondering, what do I say to this kid? And if you work with me, I know the formula to say what you need to say to de-escalate a kid in a on-ramp to an airplane that's screaming. 3 sentences, I'll have that kid quiet. 3 sentences on an airplane to get a kid to shut up is all it takes me. So I was fortunate enough to get trained by international media, and you can imagine what it would be like to say, the person says you're a racist. You say, "Oh, so could you be feeling angry about respect? You need respect between us." Now you're not talking about racism anymore. You're talking about what respect looks like. You're a racist. Well, are you furious about justice? Yeah. What does justice look like? Now I'm not talking about racism anymore. I'm talking about what's here versus the labels and diagnoses that we've been taught to use as a script to describe something actually causes volatility. If you're trying to raise money, or you're trying to get a lender, guess what you're sitting with? Doubt is the feeling, trust is the need. Could you be feeling doubtful and you need trust about this investment? De-escalates the conversation. Could you be feeling skeptical and you need some more truth about the value of this investment? Some of you guys are on here are just going, you can see it's like, oh, I have to deal with the truth trust problem before I can move the investment forward. I got head nods and also smiles going out there. So you've got to take that into consideration, talk about that, and then that collapses the sales cycle. That shortens the marketing narrative. You don't have to do 12 outreaches. You can do 3 or 4 tops. You can get a greater traction because you're using better vocabulary to connect. So Rocky, when you're asking how can people work with me, give me your worst and I'll convert it into something that's workable. Give me the thing that is bugging the crap out of you that would make your life wonderful, and I'll be able to convert it into something that's going to be life-serving, non-manipulative, collaborative with the listener, and be able to create the on-ramp that you need from a language perspective, and then avoid the hand grenades or the things that you say and do that actually lengthen the sale. So my request is just for all of you listening is just consider, it would be worth the conversation, or at least a 30-minute conversation, to crank out an issue or two and see if it's a fit. so that'd be my request. So
well, you had me at 12 minutes and 23 minutes for any drastic situations. Bill, you had me there. Let me open it up to see if anybody has a question, comment, thought, feedback. Certainly, I invite everybody to connect with Bill Sterl. Anybody?
We need more people talking like Bill Sterl in this environment we live in, where there's so much hate being thrown around. We need to calm it down. Yeah, definitely.
Totally need to calm it down. Thank you for that.
You should be very busy all this year.
That's what
you don't need us. That'd be so much work for you right now.
Well, that's what we're working on. And the challenge is just getting a person to take a breath and step through the conflict. That's the toughie, because people going like, no, I can handle this. I'm trying to bubble wrap the situation. You cannot bubble. You can't bubble. Clearly, you cannot bubble wrap the level of tragic narrative that's in the environment. Clearly, or otherwise people be able to do it. News people don't know what they're doing. Please. Pundits have no idea what they're doing. They're just trying to get us to react. It's aggravating from my side because I can contribute, but it's also the resistance is people have got to take a breath and step through the conflict. It's whether it's a divorce mediation or a business formation or dissolution. You got to step through it, and I just make it shorter. None of us can get conflict to go away, but we sure can make it go shorter. That's the way to start thinking about it. And then it starts going better. Anyways,
thanks for that, Bill, and what you do. Well, let's hear from Brian Gale. Brian comes from the funding area. I think you said you're in Delaware, but certainly the key there is that you're also looking for funding equity. Maybe you could say it better than I can, Brian. What are the big ideas in your industry or business? How do we work with you?
I'm in Denver, but that's okay. The best thing I can offer is helping companies manage equity crowdfunding campaigns, which have exploded over the last couple of years in popularity. Small to medium-sized businesses use the platform. It's basically the idea that you go use the web, basically online platforms, to reach out to hundreds of thousands of people that are interested in investing. You take your idea and say, we need funding, and here's what it's for. and here's what it will cost you to buy into equity in this company. And you reach out to those, you do marketing, online marketing, social, paid ads, so forth, platforms. And then, so it's a combination. Let's say a company wants to do it, they need to go to the next level and they need funding. And let's say their turnover is $1 million or $2 million a year. And so what happens is they get exposed to a national network of potential investors that might just buy $500 or $1,000 or $2,000 at a time, maybe sometimes a lot more depending on the project. But as long as it has a good business case, it's fairly well organized, and it has an appealing product. You're not going to do a tire store under this. This is different than like a 3-store chain of sells tires in a local neighborhood. This has to be something that is appealing to kind of the larger crowd. And environmental companies that aspire, are in the environmental industry, green energy, food and beverage, things that appeal to, especially that appeal to the better good, are very popular. Tech, if you have patent, if you have a lot of IP, that appeals to a certain crowd. Kind of sexy products, like when I did a campaign with mezcal, mezcal is a type of tequila. When we did that, it was a sexy product, right? And so we were able to raise the company. Literally, when I took over as CEO, was only making $70,000 a year, and then I was able to raise $1.2 million or $1.1 million plus, the maximum allowed at the time, off the campaign. And we spent some money on it. You have to, but you spend the money once you launch. You spend the money on the campaign from the money you make. So you pull down monthly funding as you go along with the campaign. So it's a really dynamic way. It goes around, again, being a stockbroker, being in private equity, and even getting money from other private equity groups for a company I founded. They were the gatekeepers, right? So funding companies, banks, private equity groups, the market, they were gatekeepers. And now with online public offering, you go around that gatekeeping basically to the public.
Good.
So
Thanks for that, Brian.
the dynamic of
So hopefully people can connect with Brian Gale. I want to be respectful of time, and my invitation that you could join us again in a month. We do this every month for CEOs, but you don't have to wait a month. You could join us prior to that. You can go to peersondemand.com and be able to find out some of the events that fit for you, either as a provider of service or client of services or both. I will put the recording of this on our platform. Join our community, and you can have access to that as well. And I want to thank you for joining. Paul, we didn't get a chance to get to you. Join us again so we can find out more about Paul Johnson. So with that, thank you so much. Enjoy your day and your week.
Great.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.